Okay, so this might sound surprising given my last video, but I actually do think whenever you're starting off selling a product or service, it's actually the best idea to sell that thing for free, to give it away for free. And you're never too big of a business or an entrepreneur or whatever to give people products for free. So I actually have a couple examples of how, one, it went wrong when I didn't sell my thing for free or give my thing for free, and the other where it went really right when I did give that thing for free. So what I'm talking about, for context, is just the concept that when you are starting doing anything new for the first time, the odds that you are going to suck are very high, right? When you rode your first bike for the first time, the odds of you falling over very high. And the same thing is with business, in that if it's the very first time of you doing something for somebody, there's a good chance that you don't understand the thing fully enough that you can guarantee it would be an amazing outcome for the person, right? No matter what service, what product you're doing, right? If it's your first time baking cookies or whatever, trying to sell that, and you would not be sure that it would be a great cookie for the person. I hope that's making sense, right? So that same concept exists when you're making a new product line, when you're doing a new service, etc. So I was in that situation where I was making a new product for my company. So just to recap, I do content creation. I help different events and things to do in Trinidad and Tobago. I help them find an audience, right? So I boost them and push them to my audience. So this guy reached out. I done work with him before, and he was like, hey, like, listen, I want to do work, but I can't do it at the price that we usually do. I was wondering if it could be cheaper. I was like, well, yeah, it can be cheaper, going back to my whole no discounting thing that I talked about in the last video. But what I can do is maybe I can do this different product type, right? So basically, I don't want to get too much into the weeds of the social media stuff. Usually what I do is I do video content. I was offering to post it as a carousel. And, on average, my posts, my videos get about 70,000 views. That's like average. Many, many others reach like, 400,000K plus. So I guess I was in my feelings, of like, I'm kind of that guy, Anything I do, anything I post is gonna do well. So that's why I ended up selling the carousel. So I got his money, he sent the money, I did up this carousel, and boy, did it flop. Like, I haven't had a piece of content flop like that in a while. At least, in terms of my metrics. I think all in all, it got something like 3,000 overall views, maybe less than that across all platforms. And that was like, oh, bro, I felt terrible. One, because it was like, I spent a decent amount of time making this thing, and, it didn't bring anybody value. And two, it was like, I took this guy's money, and I didn't deliver on the promise. So I was like, hey, like, can I refund you? Like, I felt really bad. And then eventually he was like, hey, like, you don't need to refund me, but just make a video. And I was like, okay. So he ended up getting, a less than half price video, more so because I felt bad and because we went through that song and dance of the first thing going wrong. So that's the first story. I bring that up to say that is the risk. When you offer something the first time, you risk like really harming your reputation and your relationship with the people you're working with, because it may not always go well, right? So that's the first lesson. So the second story is actually with someone who I'm reaching out to potentially become a client. So this is actually a big brand in Trinidad and Tobago. They sell cars, and they wanted to be essentially like a sponsor, a title sponsor for our videos. So basically, You know, when I make a video telling people about the top things going on in the week, they want it to be brought to you by insert brand name. I don't want to name them because I feel like that's a little unprofessional. So they wanted to do that. And I was like, you know, I've done this in the past, but you know what? I'm trying to just iron out the format and really dial it in. Let me do one of them for y'all for free, and then you can give me your honest thoughts and stuff afterwards. So we did that. It went relatively well. I was on a call with them yesterday, and they were like, yeah, oh my gosh, this was really great. Really, really great. I'd love to see it. And you know, we actually are looking at things and promotion that we want to do for the next 3 months. Like, is that something you can do? And like, they were very, very excited. Way more so than if I had come up to them and said, hey, like, would you like to do this for a fee, right? Like if I just approached the pitch. So that really stuck to me as the power, on the other hand, when you offer products and services for free, because you get to give the person a little taste test on top of the whole thing of like making sure it works and all this kind of thing. Now it is, they're like, oh yeah, it works and I want more if it does work, right? So that stood out to me. One, I think that's a good lesson if you're starting out, if you're doing any new products or service. And in fact, it's actually a method I think I'm going to do going forward into the future. When I do approach these big brands to be a title sponsor, I'm thinking I'm just going to offer them one free video so they can test it out. Worst case, they don't take up the rest of the offer and I spend some time on one video, which is not the end of the world, and my audience gets an extra video. And best case, it becomes like the easiest sale that I have to make later down the line, where it's just like, hey, you know, you saw it works, it worked for you, and you already now are building goodwill. Not to mention, it's probably going to like skyrocket the level on which they would reply to me or answer me when I mention, hey, I could give you something for free. So I think that's a brilliant lesson for me. Hopefully you could take some or parts of that away for your own businesses. And yeah, I'd love to know what you think. So I'll leave it there. Have an amazing